Yeah. Idiotti.
Let us determine just what we have found here. Let us pour liquid from the bottle into a test tube to perform an analysis.
Selvä.
This is the bottle that we found hidden at Kew Gardens.
Rip.
A colorless, water-based liquid. Quite a strong floral aroma.
Holmes? What are you doing?
It has a bitter taste.
What if it's poisonous?
Did you ever see poison stored in enormous jars like that? Anyway, there is a doctor nearby.
So what do you think it is?
It is some kind of organic compound. Let us vaporize the liquid and see what happens. Let us determine just what we have found here. Small colorless crystals. Colorless, tiny crystals that are soluble in water, with a floral smell and a bitter taste. Watson, could you pass me that small bottle, please?
Of course. Here you are. Holmes, do you know what it is?
Wagner's reagent. There was a label on the bottle that you passed to me.
No, Holmes, I meant the bottle that we found.
Let me add the reagent and see if there is any sediment, and then I shall tell you. I need to take a pip.
Muuttu punaiseksi.
Red sediment, just as I suspected. This liquid is of organic origin. It contains some alkaloid. Most likely it is unstable, and that is why there is a quantity of gold dust to prevent contamination. This mixture is probably a fertilizer. Someone was carrying out unusual experiments in the garden's laboratory.
Mielenkiintoista. On hyvä peli. Hyvin mielenkiintoinen. Lili ja jengi keskittyy.
I perceive that you are passionate about the Royal Navy.
Passionate? No, not really. I like ships, that is all.
Are you quite sure? You do not seem to be so interested in plants.
It's difficult, that's all. My future is here. It has never been about anything else.
And yet I know that the Royal Naval College rejected your application.
Ah, you truly are as clever as they say. Yes, that's correct. And in fact, my father was strongly against the idea. He did his best to ruin my plans, although I almost did succeed. But my dreams were shattered, Mr. Holmes.
Thank you, young man. We shall see you again soon. Harm House.
Se palamo poltaan puita. Okei. Jungle music. Täällä se jäpä delas. Where the fuck am I?
According to this, they have light and moisture control in some parts of the building. These flower pots are beautiful. The symbol is not from Kew Gardens.
En vittu lähden nyt kyllä arkoissa ja kattoo, kun mä oon täällä. Document. Aha.
Dry tropics. There is a smell of burning.
Smell of burning. Jaha. Nyt mennäänkin sammuttaa se, kustaa sen päälle.
This symbol is from the Divine Syndicate. A protective mask. Someone set it alight, but it did not burn. The plants were set alight fairly recently. Some have not completely burned. A door handle? Why would anyone throw such a thing in the fire? The door handle to the Colonial Collection and that of the fireplace are made of the same material. A broom handle was half burned. The remains of a picture frame.
Somebody is blazing around here.
Look, Holmes, this charming lady must be Miss White. She's entering the seed house.
No, yritän liikkua, mutta mitään ei meinaa tapahtua.
Open.
Bitch, you are under arrest.
Good day to you, miss. You have some very beautiful plants here.
Why, thank you, sir. And good day to you, too. But...
Oh, I do beg your pardon. My name is Dr. John Watson. This is my good friend, Mr. Sherlock Holmes.
I am honored to make your acquaintance, gentlemen. My name is Margaret White. Excuse me, but are you Sherlock Holmes, the great detective?
Yes, I am he.
Alhaalla taitaa lukea jotain, mahdollisesti liittyen siihen, että ne saattaa toimia ehkä subanneilla. En ole varma, että lukeeko, mutta se on hyvä katsoa. Expensive perfume. Kädet aikaa paskassa kondiksessa. Köyhä perhe. Mitä muuta tässä alkassa mukaan? Unmarried.
Yes, a theft of plants that took place here a few days ago after their most recent exhibition.
Oh yes, of course. I quite forgot about that.
Oh, it's quite understandable that you might forget about the theft of the plants, miss, after the tragedy that took place here.
Yes. The director was a truly good man. It is such a terrible misfortune.
Would you happen to know why part of the colonial collection was cleared?
No, I have never been there.
How well did you know Mr. Montague Dunn?
He was a master, a great leader. I saw him almost as a spiritual father.
He had an exceptional nature?
Oh yes, indeed. He was always so active and so optimistic, and very nice to me. Although he could behave harshly towards his son.
Why so?
He loved his son dearly and wanted the very best for him. It made him extremely demanding. Albert, who is naturally shy, suffered because of it.
Do you work here?
Part-time only. I am a biology student at the London University. I attend the same classes as the son of Mr. Montague Dunn. That is how I found my chance to work here for part of my thesis, you see. It is a great honor.
Most of the doors in Kew Gardens are locked. Do you have a key to this room?
Oh, yes. Albert gave me a set of duplicate keys. He agreed I might carry out my studies without disturbing him. It is only temporary.
Thank you, miss. None of the 3 people who work at Kew Gardens know why half of the colonial collection was cleared. So, someone is lying. It is obvious.
Huh. Tonttu, musta tuntuu, että ei tulisi yhtään supia, ja sä olisit tyyliin ainoa, joka puhuu. Mitäs meillä täällä?
A water tank.
Ja toiko on water tank?
A ventilation system. It should regulate the temperature of the staff buildings.
Katsotaan nyt mitä meillä on. Meillä on 3 ihmistä vielä tapaamatta, mutta ne ei välttämättä ole tähän. Find out Divin syndicate is concealing. Niin se pitää vielä tutkia se, että mikä se oli. Mä kävän sen kusella. Eero, en pelaa yhtään nettipokeria. Olen pelannut elämäni aikana vaan pari kertaa.
This is where I...
Postia. Skipataan ihan suosiolla. What? Mitäköhän mun täältä nyt pitää vielä tutkia?
Follow my path, and better you will fear.
What's up, faggot?
You came to make...
This. This substance is an alkaloid, the same as in the bottle we found in the bushes at Kew Gardens.
Okay. Mitä sä nyt sanoit, että täällä on jotain, mutta kun täällä ei ole mitään? Nothing new.
That would be enough to...
You came to make...
These 3 plants are identical to the ones shown at the exhibition. I shall take them.
Kiitos. Set up the experiment. Okay.
Perfect, Watson. We can begin our experiment.
Experiment. Mitä te puhutte? Jaa, PS box. Leuka vuotaa.
This green grand mystic fellow seems rather suspicious. What should we do next, Holmes?
I imagine that one of these plants would be capable of releasing a toxic vapor. I need to find out exactly how it could be done. I shall begin now. Watson, if you are at all optimistic to have dinner this evening, then I'd recommend that you put on a gas mask. It appears to open after being soaked with alkaloid. It closed again. I believe I saw a small cloud of gas. I wonder what secrets this plant is hiding. Perhaps if we agitate it to a greater extent whilst it is opened, it will reveal a little more. No reaction. This plant becomes inactive after being drenched with alkaloid.
Jännää.
My word. It shot a spike at me after I stabbed it with a pin. I imagined that its reaction would be ferocious if I increased the strength of my attack. This plant becomes inactive after being drenched with alkaloid. I find the behavior of predators utterly fascinating. It appears to have fallen inactive after being disturbed.
En tiedä, skippi.
The plants would be capable of killing only if they were directly next to the victim and stimulated at precisely the right moment.
Let us take our caterpillars to the Colonial Collection Room. We may see things more clearly there.
It is too early, Watson. Our suspects will be there. Let us investigate Kew Gardens one more time and ask some questions.
Investigate Kew Gardens. Nyt jo tajusit. Hyvä Lilia. Mikä vittuun Kew Gardensiin piti mennä?
What is your opinion of Albert as a student of botany?
He's useless. I often tell him so, and I can only give him cleaning tasks. Botany is not his life's work, and his father well knew it. He was furious about it.
He was?
Oh yes. He forced his son to work here, and he never missed an opportunity to criticize him publicly.
Are you able to elaborate on that?
Well, for example, with our last exhibition here, Mr. Dunn had Albert make a presentation speech. But then, while the lad was speaking, Mr. Dunn interrupted him, asking him difficult questions, making him look like a failure. It was with the intention of making a fool of him, Mr. Holmes.
That must have been terribly humiliating.
Yes, he was crushed, and he had to leave. Everybody was making fun of poor Albert. That is, except for Miss Margaret White, who was such a nice lady and who always takes pity on Albert.
You mentioned a Miss White. Would you tell us more about her?
She is a student who works here part-time. She is quite charming indeed. She possesses a great talent for botany. You should take a look at some of her experiments that she carried out in the laboratory. Ah, if only she were not so naive.
Why naive?
The way she used to flutter around Mr. Montague Dunn. And he... why, he couldn't help but be flattered by all her attention. How could an intelligent woman such as Miss White not see through his game? I can only scratch my head and wonder.
Monta tehtävää pelattu, 4, tää on nyt 5. Ja tätä on tehty 1,5 tuntia.
Family? No. I'm the only one with a passion for botany.
I do not think so. This photograph of you and your father at Kew Gardens suggests the opposite.
But you have no right to.
Do tell us more about your father.
He was, indeed, the greatest botanist of his time in the British Empire. He worked together with Montague Dunn until the end of his life. He brought me in at the age of 12.
Did he get on well with Mr. Dunn?
No, I couldn't say that. They expanded Kew Gardens together, that was all. And it was all my father's work. But Dunn always lived the high life.
So Mr. Dunn was not helping your father?
Oh yes.
Santuttaja, huomaatko, että sä spämmäät tuota uptimea niin kuin 20 minuutin välein? Tuntuu ainakin
The worst of it was, he declared himself as the master of Kew Gardens. Fame meant nothing to my father, so it was easy for Mr. Dunn to take all the credit.
Can you tell me if you saw Mr. Montague Dunn on the day of his death?
Yes, of course. I met him, and we went to see Albert, his son, at around 9:30. He appeared quite calm.
What were you doing on the morning of the accident?
After paying multiple visits to Albert, I had a little talk with Miss White. Then I returned to my desk to complete some paperwork. Suddenly I observed that Mr. Dunn was not feeling well, so I ran immediately to fetch Albert. I clearly remember that it was around 10:30, for I was late that morning.
Thank you, Mr. Hamish. We shall continue our investigation.
Hyvin mielenkiintoista. Tää vittua. Tää alkaa menee todella jännäksi nyt.